Good morning, I'm Julio Saenz, along with Mauricio Riveros. Today we'll meet Gregg Lederman, who will talk to us about leadership and his life as an entrepreneur.
We hope you will be inspired.
Celebrating leaders in Rochester's unique and vibrant business community, we'll meet entrepreneurs whose passion and perseverance have helped push through life's challenges. Join us as we share their stories and journeys to success. It's time to be inspired.
Greg, thank you very much for being in Be Inspired, a show that we developed to interview interesting people. And since the first day that I meet you, I was very impressed. And today I really have the honor to have you here in the show. So tell us a little bit, who is Gregg Lederman?
Well, first off, I'm delighted to be selected as interesting people. So who's Gregg Lederman? I'll just tell you a little bit about my history. I'm from Rochester. I've got family here in town, born and raised. I've started and built a couple of businesses here in town. I teach at the Simon School. So my whole professional career has been here in Rochester, although most of my clientele over the years has not necessarily been here. But I've worked in Rochester for the last 30 plus years.
Wow, so tell us a little bit how you were able to get where you are. Key points, key elements.
Oh gosh. Well, first off, no one ever has success alone. There's always other people involved. So it started for me getting into the bakery business with my cousin Tim right out of college. And we had a bakery and ice cream parlor out on Ridge Road called Buckman's Bakery and Ice Cream that we built and we sold after 3-4 years of building a wholesale business on top of the retail. That enabled me to go to school at the Simon School. And then right after Simon School, I started Brand Integrity, which was a consulting company to help organizations discover what their values are and integrate that into their people systems so their folks would actually live the values, delivering a better employee experience and a better customer experience. That business quickly evolved into a software business that helped organizations to measure how engaged their people are. It facilitated employee recognition, which I learned early on in my career. If you recognize employees for doing a really good job, that accelerates the customer experience and the business results when you're capturing those moments of success and sharing them. So we built software to help facilitate that. Then worked with an awesome team of people here in Rochester. One of the benefits of Rochester is great talent around us. So had a fantastic team at Brand Integrity. We built that business up over more than a decade and a half and just sold it about a year and a half ago.
Fantastic. And it's funny hearing you talk at the beginning. I was like, I wonder what this guy thinks is so unique about the business climate in Rochester and what the advantages are to being here. You just touched on one of them. Do you have some others that you could mention?
Well, Rochester's pretty simple living, for one. You know, my commute is 10-12 minutes each way. So it's not one of those big cities where you're stuck in traffic all day or it's just hard to get to and from work. And as I said before, I was able to attract really awesome talent. You know, I was interviewed not too long ago. They said, what's the #1 leadership lesson you could share? And my immediate response was, hire good people and get the hell out of their way. Right? If you hire good people and you get out of their way, then you're going to be successful if you have at least a B-level strategy. You know, the old saying, I'd take a B strategy with A people over an A strategy with B people. That's never been more true than in my life. We may not have always had the best strategy, but our people were unbelievable.
And I think that's so important for businesses. We had the blessing to interview a lot of small, medium-sized businesses. And what are, in your opinion, the most significant mistakes that business do and get them out of business? You have a lot of experience. You have worked with many companies and organizations. What are those things that you identify that are kind of common elements that really didn't help those businesses?
I'd say I see a lot of organizations, they're trying to have success at the expense of their people. Versus trying to do it through their people, which ties into that idea I shared a moment ago. Hire really good people and get out of their way. Now that applies at a leadership level, but all the way down throughout the organization as well. That's one of the biggest challenges that I've seen. One of the biggest challenges that I faced over the years was I ignored the competition for years. And I see other people do that as well, but it was one of the big roadblocks we had at Brand Integrity that I caused, which was we ignored the competition because I felt our technology was better than everybody else's. So maybe it was a little bit of ego in there as well, but we knew we had the best technology, so I ignored a lot of the competition that was out there. And then before I knew it, we got into 2015, 2016, 2017, there was a lot more competition. for the type of product that we had. So that was one of the challenges that I faced that I think others face as well.
And when you mentioned that right out of school, you basically started a business, right? Right after college?
I didn't think anyone was going to want to hire me.
Well, that's funny because that was sort of my question was, did you realize how much you were biting off at the time, or you just did it?
No, I had you don't get anywhere alone. I had amazing mentors that taught me how to do things. I also had a few mentors, I call them reverse mentors. They taught me what not to do. And I had a couple of those early on. I watched how they were doing things and realized that's not the way that I want to do it. But there was one person individual, Tim Vodis, who was my cousin, that he opened up the door for me to get into the bakery business, which I never expected to do. Which is kind of the irony of my whole career over the last 20 years is I pretty much didn't plan on doing anything that I ended up doing.
I was going to say, you didn't major in bakery.
No,
did you?
no,
Okay.
not at all. I've been teaching for the last 18 years too at the Simon School at the U of R. I designed a course there that it's taught in the executive MBA program called Leading Organizational Change. And a few years back, I was asked to go speak to some students that were coming out of the school. And one of the questions they asked me was, what's the biggest surprise in your entrepreneurial career or your life so far in business? And I thought for a second, I'm like, wow, there's been not just one surprise, but I said, I'm the CEO of a software business at the time. I'm a professional speaker, and I'm a 3-time award-winning author. I'm a New York Times bestselling author. If you had told me in 1999 that any of those 3 things were going to happen in my life, if I was sitting here and you guys were like, yeah, you're going to be a professional speaker, an author, and the CEO of a software business, I would have looked at you and said, you are out of your freaking mind. There's no way that any of those 3 things are going to happen, because it wasn't anything I planned for. I didn't know anything about technology. I didn't even write my own college essay, I'm ashamed to say, back in the day. Like, was not a good writer. And when I was at Simon School getting a degree in the late 90s, I was petrified of getting up and speaking in front of my classmates.
Wow.
So I'm the perfect testament of life is really what happens when you plan for everything else.
But it's an element that is really powerful because your testimony, your personal testimony of transformation is key. And one of the things that I personally believe is fundamental is to recreate yourself. So tell us about how you were able to recreate yourself.
Well, fortunately, I get to keep doing what I've always loved to do. So while Brand Integrity is sold and moved on, Reward Gateway purchased the business about 1.5 years ago, I also had a company called Brand at Work that I actually started on the same day in 2002 that I formed Brand Integrity. And through that business, I still run my professional speaking business. I have three books out there that I mentioned, and the consulting practice that I continue to do today. So I haven't had to completely reinvent myself. And now, as opposed to maybe pitching a certain type of software, although I do highly recommend the product that we built and have sold to Reward Gateway, now I can be unbiased in my evaluation and sharing of what direction organizations should go if someone was to call and seek my opinion on that. And I'm focusing in on just the leadership practices that help me get not only where I've gotten in my career and where our team has gotten to, but also our clients had tremendous success. I mean, I wasn't able to build and sell the company without an A team of people at Brand Integrity, but our clients have had just wicked success with our product, driving insane levels of engagement, really high customer loyalty scores. So I'm able to take those learnings and share those with others. So in a way, I've just kind of evolved to the next phase of my life. I call it season 3 of my life. The first season being the bakery, then Brand Integrity, and now I formed this effort called Lederman on Leadership, which every 2 weeks I'm putting out a vlog series, a short video with tips and techniques to help people be better humans and better leaders. And it's just, some of it's really basic information that I learned along the way that helped me, help my teammates, help my clients. And I just want to share it with other people.
Now, I haven't met you before today, but you strike me as being very fearless in your business experiences and the things you've taken on. To the folks that are watching the show, maybe sitting on their couch and they have an idea for a business, something that they sort of have in the back of their head, what would you tell them to get them off that couch and get them inspired?
Well, no matter what, I'd get off the couch and get moving. But I'd say take calculated risks. I mean, you got to be strategic in it. I mean, yes, I wouldn't call myself fearless, but sometimes you just have a passion for what it is you believe is the right thing to do and that people are going to want it, and you just got to go full steam ahead with it. But calculated risks. I never went out and raised a bunch of capital to invest in something that might work. right? I mean, we did it pretty organically and methodologically throughout the years. I wouldn't have called it a huge risk, although it was a lot of work. There's no question about that. And you got to be willing to put in the work. But the key is you got to be passionate about what it is you're doing. I have 3 wonderful daughters at home, and probably the one thing I tell them over and over again as they're getting older, especially my 2 oldest daughters, I say, look, if you love what you do, you don't really ever work a day in your life. You really don't.
Well, thank you. We'll be back with more after these messages.
You are a great speaker, and one of the challenges in this generation is the cell phones and the texting. So
terrible.
how we deal with that, how we deal in the work environment and really be able to create this dialogue, this communication, teach people how to even have the non-verbal communication. What do we do?
Yeah, it's not an or, it's kind of an and. You have to be able to do both. I mean, no one could have imagined the technology taking over the world like it has. Maybe Steve Jobs imagined it, but he's, in my opinion, the only one. I don't know, it's going to be an interesting decade ahead. I mean, we've got 23, 24-year-olds coming to the workplace now. That's Gen Z. And these folks had iPhones in their cribs, right? They had tablets on their laps before they had napkins on their laps. So and they think they're multitasking. Everyone thinks they're multitasking, and they're not. We're not as effective when we're trying to do 2, 3, 4 things at once. There's a lot of research that's come out on that, and there's going to be even more in the future. The one tip I would tell people is put it away. Like every now and then, like put it away. I just did my first Lederman on Leadership vlog, was that you said you watched, that was on building your top 5 things you need to do that day. And one of the points I made in there was, if something's a priority, shut your freaking technology off, put it away for a half an hour and get that job done. And so I think that's going to be a big part of it. But there's going to be all kinds of new ideas and rules and ways to try to help people be more effective with the technology. The irony of it is the technology is supposed to keep us more connected, but we've become more disconnected than ever before. So if we're not careful, that's going to lead to challenges in the workplace that people aren't going to want to deal with.
Well, you sort of touched on my next question, which is, you're such a busy person and involved in so many different things. For our entrepreneurs who many may start their business on the side on top of their regular job and other things, what tips would you give people to stay organized as they're starting their journey as entrepreneurs?
My number one tip is to start each day with, what are the top 5 things I need to get done today, and then to order those in prioritized order. And I did the Lederman on Leadership vlog series. I launched the first one on last week, and I shared this little index card I use each day and how I do that. And it's interesting, the response. I've been flooded with emails and people reaching out to me, and I'm hearing 3 different types of responses. I'm hearing, that's exactly what I do, and they tell me about email me how they write their list every day. And then the second response is that I do something, but it's similar to that, but it's not as well organized. And then the third is, I don't do anything like that. It's an interesting idea, but I don't do anything like that. So one of the conversations I had with a cousin of mine the other day who said, I don't do that. I said, well, do you feel like you're highly productive every day? And he said, no, I'm jumping all over the place from one thing to the next. I said, well, you might want to try it then. You may want to try it, because it helps you to be more organized. I get up every day. What are my top 5 things I must get done today?
So dealing with the stress. We are in a society that is overwhelming with information. We process more information than ever in the history every single day. That creates a natural stress. What's your recommendation of leading with the stress issue?
Wow, that's been the most eye-opening of all topics for me to talk about since selling Brand Integrity in July of 2018 now. I didn't realize how much stress I actually was taking on day in and day out. One of the things I said to my wife a few months after the sale, I said, wow, I feel like I'm in 3rd gear every day. She's like, as opposed to, I said, pretty much 5th gear where I've been the last 20 to 25 years. Every day, 5th gear, running forward, just getting stuff done, building the business, building the client base, building the Brand Integrity team with, it was just always go, go, go. And I tell people the iWatch, it saved my life, because the last year or 2 that I was running Brand Integrity, I took note of my heart rate. I'd never noticed it before. And it was pretty high all day long, every day. And then after selling the business, now I look at my heart rate and it's considerably lower every day. And I thought, wow, I'm never going back to just being in fifth gear all the time. And I've slowed down and been able to have more perspective and focus in on less, getting a lot done, but focusing on less things lowers the stress level. I'm able to think a lot more clearly, I think, without all the stress. But in my last book, I wrote about stress as the hidden assassin. You don't even know you have it. And I wrote about it in a whole book and still didn't realize how much I actually had day in and day out. But now that I don't have as much of that go, go, go all day long type activity, my stress level is lower. I have greater perspective because of that. And I know I'm healthier because of that.
Sure. Can you tell us a little bit about your last book?
Yeah, the last book is called Crave. You can enhance employee motivation in 10 minutes by Friday. It's based on 80 years of research that I summarized into 3 psychological needs that all humans have. And when we get these 3 needs fulfilled, we're happier, we're more motivated, we're more productive at work. And that is respect. So respect me for who I am and what I do. Purpose, help me see the purpose and meaning of my work, how I make a difference. And the third is relationship building. And then the book is on how you can take 10 minutes every week. That's it, 10 minutes a week as a good supervisor, manager, executive in an organization. Take 10 minutes every week to stop, look around and say, where do I see a success that I can capture and share, whether I'm writing a note to someone, whether I'm just talking about it at a team meeting, whether I'm using one of the social platforms we may have in our company, to just share that success in a meaningful way to fuel the workplace with the craving we all have. Again, respect, purpose, and a sense of relationship.
That is so powerful because I think the simplicity, but at the same time the deepness of all these 3 concepts are fundamental for transformation. And I think one of the elements I see more and more is that crave. People needs that element of being recognized.
Oh, it's huge. We all crave it. And the irony of it is while it's so obvious that we all crave this, so many organizations are trying other tactics to try to retain employees or attract employees that don't work. Simply paying people more money is not what everybody craves. I mean, you got to pay the market wage for a job. If you're not paying the market wage, any employee in your organization can figure that out by going to their good friend Google and typing in their geography and their job, and they'll know pretty quickly what the wage should be based on their experience level. What people really crave is that sense of, I make a difference. People respect me for who I am and what I do, and a good relationship with their boss. So if you give people what they crave, it drives engagement up. And the proof is in the results of our clients. I mean, one of the things that I think made brand integrity really attractive to other organizations was our clients had an average of over 90% employee engagement. And that wasn't just 1 year or 2 years, that was over a 10-year period of time. And then that translated into better customer experiences. So they found out that with 10 minutes a week of investment by our managers and our leaders, we can completely transform our culture in a way that accelerates business results for us, makes us more profitable, helps us make more money, which is what all companies are trying to do.
Yeah, and then so someone who is a startup and maybe can't afford to pay a lot, your advice to them is to just make sure to recognize those that are coming on board.
Absolutely, and their clients as well. You know, and their clients. You know, they're it works in the workplace as well as it does in the home environment as well as it does in the community. So everybody, no matter, it's the human condition to want to feel respected in a sense of purpose and meaning and impact. I'm seeing it more now than ever. I mean, in my life now, in this next phase of my life, I'm trying to have impact. Like, I'm going to do a keynote down in Florida next week, and at first I was not intrigued much with the industry, if you will. It was small loan lending, what people think of as predatory lending. But when I really looked into what this industry does, they loan money in allotments of between $300 and $1,000 per loan. And when I started to really do my homework on the industry and my preparation, I realized, oh my gosh, the 300 organizations they told me that are going to be in the in the audience, they're banks, they're financial institutions that lend these small loans. They're having a huge impact on people's lives. And so now that translates to me as when I'm up in front of those CEOs, presidents, leaders of those companies, I have a way, whether, even if I'm, 6 degrees of Kevin Bacon away from that individual, I have a way to impact their lives by sharing the 10 minutes by Friday method with these organizations, with their leaders, because if they take it to their company, it's going to make a better experience for the end user. And these people that are borrowing, they may have a refrigerator to fix or an electric bill to keep on or some sort of hardship they're going through, and this is my way that I can have impact. So I'm thinking about that a lot more now. How can I have more impact based on what I've learned about leadership and what I've learned about how to be successful in enterprise?
Well, Gregg, this was really an amazing interview, and
thanks.
Congratulations for what you are doing. So one more time for the people and the audience, if they want to watch your videos, where they should go?
So you go to GreggLederman.com, and you'll see Lederman on Leadership right on the homepage. You can register right there, and it's GreggLederman.com. Or I set it up so people can text, because we've always got our phones there. So I use LOL for Lederman on Leadership. So just text LOL to 33777.
Gregg, again, thank you very much, and I'm sure that we will have you in a future program.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having me.
Coming up next week, we'll meet Tina Brown, the owner of a unique clothing store on Park Avenue. To watch today's episode and the complete interviews of our guests, go to rochesterfirst.com/be-inspired. For more great talk with Rochester's entrepreneurs, listen to Poder 97.1, Saturdays at 9 a.m. For Mauricio Riveros, I'm Julio Sáenz. We'll see you next week on Be Inspired.